welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you for clicking on this video. Today I wanted to share a gigantic book haul with you all. I went a little nuts recently buying a lot of books, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 books here. So that's quite a bit. I recently bought a Kindle. I uploaded an unboxing video the other day for that if you wanted to check it out, but since then I haven't bought any books. So I've been good in the past week or so, but before that I went a little nuts. I bought some books on sale on Amazon, and I found a book outlet store in Canada, bookoutlet.ca, which has books for pretty cheap. You can get hardcover books for $9. And usually they'll come a little bit damaged, but it's always really minor. So I bought some on that website. And then I also picked up some books from a thrift store. So, all in all, I have 15 books here to share with you all. Some of these are books that I learned about through you guys, or they're books that I learned about through YouTube, or they are older, more classic books that I found at the thrift store that I wanted. And those ones I don't necessarily plan on reading super soon, but I do plan on reading all of these eventually. So, I'm just going to tell you what all of these books are. I might read the backs of some of them. And I have a pretty good range of genres here. I have some fantasy, I have some dark academia, which I haven't really read any of yet. I have classics, I have some more thriller, maybe one or two more thrillers, romance, and then just kind of sci-fi, and then I have one short story book. first, I picked up, I don't know where to start. Last month in May, I read my first Emily Henry book. I read Happy Place, which is her newest release. And she has, of course, a few other earlier, really famous books. I read Happy Place, and that was one of my favorite books that I've read this year. So I wanted to pick up another of her books. She has a few. She has People We Meet on Vacation, I think it's called, Beach Read, and after looking more into those books, I felt like this one was one that I'd be most likely to enjoy, and that was Book Lovers. Now, my friend recommended this one to me, so that was probably ultimately the biggest reason I ended up buying it, and not one of her other ones. But I also watched a YouTube video by the Book Leo, which is one of my favorite channels, and she liked this one as well. So that was kind of two people that have similar tastes to me that liked this book the best of hers. So it's probably the biggest reason that I picked it up, but I think it also just sounded like the book deals with reading, so I felt like it would be something that I would relate to and enjoy. So I'm really excited to read that because I loved Happy Place so much, and so Emily Henry might be one of my favorite authors, I think, especially for romance. So it's the first book that I picked up. I also picked up a book that is by an author that I read for the first time in May as well. So that is Ava Reed. So in May I read Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed, and I really liked it. I didn't know what to expect, but I really enjoyed it. That was a fantasy book. Has witch elements in it. It's a book that I liked because I liked the writing, but I liked the romance in the book as well, and I liked that it dealt with heavy topics, yet it was in a fantasy world. So I enjoyed that. I felt like it made you think. So I picked up her earlier book, which I think she's most known for, and that is The Wolf and the Woodsman. I love this cover. I honestly don't know what this book is about. So let's read the back. In her forest-veiled pagan village, Evik is the only woman without power, making her an outcast, clearly abandoned by the gods. The villagers blame her corrupted bloodline. Her father was a Yehuli man, one of the much-loathed servants of the fanatical king. When soldiers arrive from the Holy Order of Woodsmen to claim a pagan girl for the king's blood sacrifice, Evik is betrayed by her fellow villagers and surrendered. But when monsters attack the woodsmen and their captive en route, slaughtering everyone but Evik and the gold, one-eyed captain, the two have no choice but to rely on each other. Except the captain is no ordinary woodsman. He's the disgraced prince, Barani Caspar, whose father needs pagan magic to consolidate his power. Caspar fears that his cruelly zealous brother plans to seize the throne and instigate a violent reign that would damn the pagans and the Yehuli alike. As the son of a reveled foreign queen, Caspar understands what it's like to be an outcast, and he and Evik make a tenuous pact to stop his brother. Yeah, I had no idea what this was about. I just picked it up because I know that people love this book, and I really liked the other book I read of hers, Juniper and Thorn. So I'm probably going to read this pretty soon because I'm excited for it. It sounds like a really immersive world to dive into. And then I picked up Her Body and Other Parties. Who's this by? Carmen Maria Machado. So I picked this up based on a YouTube video as well by The Clockwork Reader. And let's read the back. In her electrifying debut, Carmen Maria Machado blithely demolishes the borders between psychological realism and science fiction, comedy and horror, fantasy and fabulism. Here are 8 startling stories that map the realities of women's lives and the violence visited upon their bodies. Earthy and otherworldly, antic and sexy, queer and caustic, comic and deadly serious, Her Body and Other Parties enlarges the possibilities of contemporary fiction. This sounds like something that I'll really like, but it does sound a little bit heavy as well, so I'll pick it up feel like reading something a little heavier. But I'm really excited to read it because I think it will potentially kickstart me reading more short stories. I feel like I am a short story kind of lady, but I haven't dove into them yet. So I'm excited for that. I also picked up The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. So this is another book that I picked up because I read another book by the same author. So I read Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, and I enjoyed that. So I wanted to read this, again, more popular book of hers. I think this one's pretty popular. The Atlas 6, I believe, is a dark academia book. It says, secrets, betrayal, seduction, power. Welcome to the Alexandrian Society. And on the front it says, knowledge is carnage. So, I have high hopes for this book. I know that people have hyped it up quite a bit. So, hopefully it lives up to that hype for me too. And then I picked up If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. This is, I believe, another dark academia book. I believe it is about a group of academics who get involved in a murder somehow. I think it has some murder mystery elements, and again, people really love this book. This is probably the most basic cover that I have on a book. So I got it and I even thought about returning it because I don't like the cover. It's so flat and basic. But I kept it because that would be kind of silly. And if I really love this book so much that I want a nicer version, then I can do that. Okay, then I picked up Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This is a dystopian, and I haven't read many dystopians overall, but I really like them, I think. I'm also the kind of person who likes dystopian movies and TV shows. I really like those kinds of stories. Don't know why, but I do. I think I just find it interesting in the same way I like fantasy, because it kind of takes you to a different world. So as far as I know, this book is about a black girl who is living in this sort of terrible world, and she comes up with a religion, and just sounds like a really interesting concept and idea. Let's see. I picked up. This is the book that I'm probably the least sure that I'll like out of all of these. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I have seen this book countless times on TikTok and YouTube. And I finally decided I will try it. And this will be kind of a test run for whether or not I like fae stories, which I only recently learned what fae means. I still don't even totally understand, so hopefully this book will also help with that. But I am going to try it, but I am pretty 50-50 in terms of what I expect. But I also have heard that people really like the second book in this series. This is book 1 of the series. And it could potentially be worth reading this whole book, even if I don't like it, and then trying the second book, because people really love the romance in that book, I think. But they also like the romance in this book. It's an enemies to lovers trope, and it intrigues me because people say that it's like genuine enemies to lovers, but I think they stay enemies, so it's kind of a extreme version of that trope, I think. And then I've already started this book. I am 18 pages in. This is Cersei by Madeline Miller, the same author who wrote The Song of Achilles. And the people that I watch and talk to have liked Cersei better than The Song of Achilles, so I decided to buy that one. So this is a reimagining of the story of Cersei. Is she considered a goddess? I think she's a Greek goddess. It's going to be interesting to see what I think about this book. I always loved Greek mythology. We learned about it in English class in high school. I took a IB English class, and we read Greek mythology a bit, and I really loved it. I loved learning about it, but I also find it really hard to keep track of the names and the terms. So I also might find this book confusing. I can't quite tell yet because I'm not very far into it. So it'll be interesting. But I think people like that book because it's very sort of fun because it's about, I believe, Cersei kind of gets shunned by her family and she's sent off to live on an island by herself. But then she sort of goes mad and starts killing people or something like that. So I think that it could be really fun. Okay. Then I picked up 2 Stephen King novels. These are 2 that one of them is one that I was recommended by someone in the comments of a previous video of mine, and that is The Outsider. A living nightmare has come to Flint City, Oklahoma, as an 11-year-old boy is found brutally murdered in a local park, an unspeakable crime that rocks locals' law enforcement to its core as the most heinous atrocity anyone has ever witnessed. Equally stunning is the identity of the prime suspect, Terry Maitland, one of Flint City's most popular citizens, as well as Little League coach, English teacher, and devoted husband and father. Detective Ralph Anderson, whose own son Maitland once coached, orders a quick and very public arrest. Multiple eyewitnesses and irrefutable evidence mean an ironclad case, until the investigation expands and horrifying new details begin to emerge. Terry Maitland seems like a nice guy, but is he wearing another face? When the answer is revealed, it will shock you as only master storyteller Stephen King can. So it sounds like a story I would like. It sounds... I do really like thrillers, and I really like mysteries. It doesn't sound like this will be too much of a horror, which is good for me because I don't think I'd do well with horror books, but I haven't even really tried any, to be honest. But I think I will eventually try some Stephen King horror books. However, for now, I just want to read his thrillers and other genres. So, somebody recommended this to me after I talked about Billy Summers, which I loved so much, and decided to buy it. They convinced me, so I'm really excited to read this, especially after rereading that synopsis. And I got one of his newer books. It might be his newest. The Institute. When I got this, I was really excited because I love how tiny it is. I've seen big hardcover versions of this book, which I don't love huge hardcovers. I like things that fit in my hands nicely. So this one seems like it will, and that it'll be fun to read. And I think this story is a little scarier. Yeah, I think this actually is considered a horror. So there you go. In the middle of the night, intruders silently murder Luke Ellis's parents and steal him away from his suburban Minneapolis home, an operation that takes less than 2 minutes. Luke will wake up in a faraway room that looks just like his own, except there's no window, and outside his door are several other doors, behind which are several other kids with very special abilities who arrived at wherever here is in the same way Luke did. They're all confined to the area known as front half, which is a good thing. No one ever returns from back half. Nevertheless, the incarcerated children are intended to serve, given that the staff is ruthlessly dedicated to extracting the force of their extra-normal gifts. Cooperation is rewarded and resistance punished brutally. As each new victim disappears to back half, Luke becomes increasingly desperate to somehow find a way out and get help, even though no one has ever escaped from the living hell known as the Institute. So, turns out I have probably a scary book here. But I'm excited. I can see what I think of those kind of books. Okay. Now here is a big hardcover copy of Next by Michael Crichton. I haven't read any Michael Crichton yet, so I saw this at the thrift store and I picked it up. don't know what to expect. I might not like this. But I did want to try some Michael Crichton. I believe this is sort of a dystopian as well. If you've read any Michael Crichton, let me know what were your favorites, if you had any of his. Or just generally if you like his writing or not. I know he wrote Jurassic Park, but I don't even really love those movies, so we'll see. Okay, so the last few books that I have here are more classic books, and I'm just going to go through these quickly. But I haven't read any of these before, so they aren't nice copies of them. I just picked them up in order to try them out, and then if I really like any of them, I'll buy better copies. So first I picked up Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I got The Plague. I really liked The Myth of Sisyphus, which I have. And I talked about that in my favorite nonfiction books, actually, video. I think that book I will read kind of soon. It feels timely because it's about a plague, so it's kind of relevant to COVID. But I also feel far enough removed now from COVID and all of the more scary elements of it that I might enjoy the book now. I probably wouldn't have if I read it earlier. But we'll see. Then I picked up The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. So I can't tell if people like this book or not. When you look at reviews, there are a lot of angry reviews, people that don't like it. So I don't know. But I think I'll read it at some point. An ingenious code hidden in the works of Leonardo da Vinci. A desperate race through the cathedrals and castles of Europe. An astonishing truth concealed for centuries, unveiled at last. I think that's probably gonna have, like, some action in it, which I don't tend to like in books, or in movies, or TV, but... Okay, and then... got the first book in the Outlander series. Outlander. By Diana Gabaldon. So, the show Outlander is one of my favorite TV shows. A lot of people don't like that TV show, but I love it. I think I'm just a historical fiction kind of person. I think that's why I like it. It's about a woman who can time travel, and she's from the 1960s or 1940s, and she gets sent back to the 1700s, the 1740s, so 200 years in the past, and she falls in love, and a lot happens in that show, and I'm assuming in the books, but that romance is my favorite ever, I think. It's become my favorite romance. And the show is still going. It's in its 6th season, I believe. And I'm not finished it yet. I'm on season 4. And there have been parts of it that I haven't liked, but overall, I think it could be my favorite show ever. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll buy all of the books or not, but it might be silly, but even if I don't read them, I think it would be cool to have them because I love the show so much. And maybe once the show is finished and I miss the story and everything, I'll read the books. It was a lot, but I'm really excited to have or to read all of these books. So, thank you, as always, for watching, for clicking on my video. I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope to see you next time.